My cat is looking at herself in the mirror and trying to fight herself. That's literally you. Hey besties, and welcome back. I assume that by now most of y'all have heard about the Urban Decay and Skindinavia breakup drama. If you haven't, I'll recap very briefly. Skindinavia is a small company that made a very amazing setting spray. Urban Decay ended up hiring Skindinavia to make their all-nighter setting spray. They've used them for, I believe, around 15 years now to make their setting spray. Urban Decay just dropped them. They are now promoting, this is our new setting spray, this is what's even better about the new setting spray, and just completely dropped Skindinavia. And apparently now, allegedly, Urban Decay is talking smack about the old formula. To play devil's advocate, anytime that a reformulation happens, most brands would talk a little smack about the old formula. It's part of promoting a, reformulation, but it's a little different in this case because the old formulation, it was made by Skindinavia, and now Urban Decay is making it themselves. Skindinavia spoke out about it on Instagram, and now a lot of people are boycotting Urban Decay. I'll tell you, honestly, I've been a Skindinavia setting spray girly for many a year. Many years. I literally got this from Ricky's NYC. So at least since Ricky's was still around. Man, I miss that store. The only reason that I ever got the Urban Decay all-nighter setting spray is because right in the back, it says made by Skindinavia. And I don't know anywhere around me to buy Skindinavia. So yes, I do have a little bit of a bias towards Skindinavia because I've been a fan of them, honestly, for what feels like forever. I want to say I've been using Skindinavia since I started going to New York in like 2011. If you're just the average consumer, then before this drama, you probably have never heard the brand name Skindinavia before. I don't blame you. And that's the problem. Big beauty brands love indie beauty brands until their competition. Big beauty brands are not afraid to sabotage indie beauty brands. Urban Decay isn't the first to do it, and they won't be the last. I guess that this all poses a much bigger question though. Why does this keep happening? There's enough shelf space in the stores for all the brands to coexist. So why are the big brands so intent on running the small brands out? There have been countless examples of this over the years. I'm pretty sure that if you search on YouTube, any big name cosmetics brand and the words ripped off, a lot of videos will pop up of them ripping off smaller independent companies. I'm not saying necessarily trying to put the smaller companies out of business, although that does happen a lot. An independent brand can release a collection that is amazing, but people don't know about it as much because they're an independent brand. And then when the big brand finds out, they release almost identical products, and then everyone's buying it from the big brand, and all of a sudden people are like, oh no, this indie brand is ripping them off. It's sad. And when I say this, I'm not talking about things like Makeup Revolution duping every big name product out there. We all know that happens. I'm not talking about Emco Beauty duping the big products, because we all know that happens. I'm not talking about e.l.f. duping the big products, because we know that happens. I'm talking about indie brands, or even if they're not indie, smaller brands. Back in 2018, Bella Thorne launched a cosmetics line that people said that her palettes allegedly were the same as Juvia's Place palettes. Allegedly. I'm not looking to get sued today. Her argument was that they had the same manufacturer. But this was 2018. Bella Thorne was a big name, and at this point, Juvia's Place was not in Ulta yet. At this point, Juvia's Place was still a small indie brand. They're still a smaller brand now, but back then, obviously we see which brand has the longevity here, and the public was very vocal about it as well, so consider that instant karma. Allegedly. Around 2 years ago, there was a lot of speculation that Rare Beauty's new at the time lip oils were allegedly ripping off Etude's lip oils. Have you ever heard of Necromancy Cosmetica? They are an indie brand. They are very much goth leaning, hence the name. They're based out of Puerto Rico. And about 6 years ago, guess who allegedly ripped off some of their lipstick shades? I'll let you guess. If you guessed Kat Von D, you would be correct. It's not the first or the only time that Kat Von D has been accused of allegedly ripping off an indie brand. Any indie brand that has had tattoo vibes or goth vibes, I can pretty much guarantee you that Kat Von D has been accused of ripping them off at some point. But this one kind of impossible to argue with. Allegedly. Your girl is not getting sued. Allegedly. Then there was the drama of what, 2-3 years ago that, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Trezeluce, Becky G's cosmetics line, allegedly ripped off Araceli Beauty. But in the end, look at which one of those brands is still around. I'll give you a hint. It's not the one with the star power behind it. When Ariana Grande launched her Rem Beauty line, there was a lot of discourse that the packaging may have allegedly ripped off a Chinese company called Color Zone. Allegedly. Only a few months ago, maybe 6 months, there's a lot of discourse that Tarte allegedly ripped off a slogan of the small indie brand Basma Beauty with their big stick energy. I'll be honest, that one I feel like is just a saying and kind of a played out one at this point, but to each their own. If Basma Beauty used that as their tagline and then Tarte used it, again, it could be a common saying. It's based off of a common saying, but that's why the big brands have copywriters, to make sure that other brands aren't already using the slogans. You have things like the Charlotte Tilbury situations that are going on. Apparently they're going after the indie beauty brand Airbrush Skin for using the word airbrushed in their name, and they're going after another indie beauty brand, Trigwell Cosmetics, because their logo is TC and Charlotte Tilbury's is CT. At this rate, they might as well go after the state of Connecticut, because that's also abbreviated as CT. Now, it's not just big brands going after the small indie brands though. Like, I do have to point out, when Urban Decay released their Naked palette and then Too Faced released their Chocolate Bar palette, Urban Decay went after Too Faced. And they were like, hey, this is too similar, you're ripping us off. While it's technically an indie brand, it's also kind of not, where Manny MUA's cosmetics line, Lunar Beauty, Makeup Revolution, allegedly, ripped off some of their product. Makeup Revolution is known for making dupes of products. That is something that is widely known and accepted. Not necessarily accepted, but by the consumers. I personally wouldn't consider an influencer-owned company to necessarily be indie, because Manny MUA already had that following. But then you even have the small brands going after each other. If anybody remembers Coastal Scents, they came out back in 2005. You know what came around in 2008 and kicked Coastal Scents out of the game? Morphe. Coastal Scents had the affordable brushes, the affordable palettes, and they did influencer marketing before influencer marketing was a thing. Morphe very much made affordable brushes, the big palettes, did the influencer marketing. They did exactly what Coastal Scents did, I will say, but better. And one of those brands no longer exists. The other one is on shaky ground. My cat is screaming, so I'm gonna go let her in. Somebody just needed attention. My cat has some separation anxiety and some codependence issues. I'm sure that there's 100 more examples, but these are just a handful of them. Why does this keep happening though? We can start with the power imbalance. Big brands have the shelf space and they have the money for the shelf space. Big brands have the money for marketing and advertising and PR. Big brands have the money that indie brands don't. All that big brands need to do is watch social media to see how successful a small indie brand can get with certain launches. And as soon as they see one that looks really good, they can go and mass produce it a lot quicker than the indie brand could. I'm not gonna say never support the big brands. I won't. But I am a big fan of the indie brands. Y'all know I've been saying for a long time, I think they have more personality than the big brands do now. Always question if a launch makes sense for that brand and its brand identity. You want to know if it was their own idea? Does it seem like something that would make sense for that brand? For example, if Urban Decay were to drop a naked grunge palette, yes, I would very much believe that that is theirs, because naked palette is their branding. But back in, you know, the 90s and early 2000s, they were grunge. That was their original brand identity. If Too Faced were to come out with another fruit-related line, yeah, I'd 100% believe that was them and not ripped off. You know, Too Faced has done chocolate bar, pumpkin pie, peach. Do they do watermelon? If not, they should. Mostly, partnerships terrify me. Genuinely. Big brands partnering with indie brands terrifies me. Urban Decay did put Skindinavia's name on the bottle. They did. I have to give them credit for that. When Skindinavia was making it, they still put Skindinavia's brand on the bottle. They made it known that it was Skindinavia. But how much money did Skindinavia make for each Urban Decay All-Nighter versus for for their own setting spray. How screwed was Skindinavia in that situation? I don't know. I have not looked over the contracts. I'm sure that those will be leaked somewhere. I don't know for sure. But at the end of the day, this feels like a big brand taking advantage of an indie brand and sabotaging them in the end. I'm not going to say boycott Urban Decay, but I will say now that Skindinavia is not making their setting sprays anymore, I'm not buying the Urban Decay setting spray anymore. As I've said, I've been a Skindinavia fan from the get-go. If Urban Decay will burn this bridge that's been around for so long, who knows what's next. I know that I didn't really deep dive all of the different incidences in this video. If you want someone that does wonderful deep dives on the dramas, check out Jen Loves. She's amazing. I love that girl to death. Absolute angel. If you are not already subscribed to Jen, what are you doing? She does really, really amazing deep dives. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below and tell me, where do you stand on the Urban Decay versus Skindinavia situation? Do you remember any incidences of big brands allegedly ripping off or screwing over indie brands? Let's talk about it in the comments. Subscribe if you are not already, and make sure to hit the bell, otherwise YouTube will never tell you when I post. It's a little bit broken like that. I put out new videos every Wednesday, Sunday, and alternating Mondays and Fridays. I love you all, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
I don't know, but I've been told the world outside is oh so cold. So cold.